Were you familiar with the novel before you read the screenplay?
Well, I'd heard of the novel. I hadn't read the novel before I read the screenplay, and I took a leap, and I loved the screenplay enough to certainly sign on to do the movie. Then I read the book, hoping that there wasn't all this wonderful stuff that was not included in the screenplay, and I was grateful that it was very true to the book, and people were very excited because, you know, Nicholas Sparks is very, well, I mean, after The Notebook, everybody has great expectations of his books translating well to the screen, so.
What enticed you about your character?
I liked the character of Adrienne very much because when we first meet her, she's brittle, she's exhausted, she's angry, and typically she's a nice woman who is going to push all that down and do the right thing the best she can figure out what the right thing is to do. But in fact, what the right thing for her to do is find joy in her life so that she can be an example of what that is to her children and do the right thing for herself, and everything else will fall into place.
How common is it for people to be there, to be in that position of having given up everything for all these years?
Well, I think it's appropriate to have priorities, and certainly children, being a parent, that's what it is. They come first. So that is appropriate, but there comes a point, certainly when we first meet Adrienne and she's dealing with the fact that her cheating husband wants to come back, and he's rushing her into taking him back by using the children, and suddenly Adrienne's the bad guy because she needs some time to think about what that means to her and how she's going to pretend that that didn't happen and just go forward as though, I mean, I understand that forgiveness is noble, but I mean, doesn't it require a moment to get there? Or are we just going to pretend that didn't happen? It's very hard. How much denial are we supposed to all have as a family?
What is she looking for that weekend when she goes to the house?
Well, I think she's looking for a break from the day-to-day running around after her teenager and her younger child, so that she can be in nature and also serve her friend. Her friend has asked her if she can man the inn where her friend owns this place, and she can't be there to be the innkeeper. So sometimes she helps out like this, and it worked out really well because she could get away and have some time to think because her husband has just propositioned her with coming back. That's all fine and well, and she's having a real tough time. So she's completely in her own mind. And then she meets Richard's character, and he has his own agenda of what is on his mind, which is certainly a very powerful subject in itself. I mean, he's struggling to gain back the respect and get some forgiveness, as it were, from his adult son.
How do we get from here to this sweeping love story?
Well, what's interesting is that they are forced to talk to each other because they're sort of left to their own devices. She's providing what an innkeeper provides to the guest. And they start conversing, and they have a lot in common because they're both parents. And one thing leads to another with the weather, and it's either leave or board up the house and sit through the bad weather coming in. And it provides an element of, you know how weather bonds people together? I grew up on the East Coast, and, you know, it makes for a lot of humanity because we all have to get through the elements together. So it's kind of a metaphor of what's going on inside the storm.
You and Richard have worked together before.
Yeah. 2 times before.
What is it like to have a life where every 10 years or so?
Almost. It's wonderful to know that, well, there's so many things to feel. First of all, we've both accomplished so much in our personal lives. We've both evolved as people. We've worked steadily. We've admired each other from afar in between our workings together, but also, we can laugh at it too, because in every movie I think we dance together, and we have these tempestuous romances of different elements, and it takes a lot to, how can I say it? You're friends, but at the same time there's a plenty of mystery. We don't know each other very well throughout the year. I mean, we do our Christmas cards and we have friends in common and we'll see each other at events and things, but there's still plenty that I don't know about Richard, so he can become anybody still with me. It's not like we hang out all the time, so.
It's the scene where after they made love in bed. It's a wonderful scene. In a sense, it's because they are both so mature. Mm-hmm. Can you comment on the fact that this is really
I think that with maturity comes obviously the reality of the finiteness of life, and you sit and you have an opportunity to say, what are my priorities? And you also know the bittersweet truth that both people have to follow their own heart and do what they need to do within their own life, and that you can only have so much place in somebody else's life. And he needs to do the right thing, and I need to do the right thing for myself. And there's an element of bittersweetness to the sober reality that maturity brings of, in some ways you're more vulnerable with maturity because you know what you have to lose. And when you offer up your heart, it has more weight. It's not frivolous,
What about this amazing setting of the film? How integral is it to the story and to the relationship?
You mean the environment?
And the house.
And the house. Well, in some ways the house is a character within the story. I mean, it has to get through the storm, and it provides shelter and a bubble for them to have that one-on-one exposure of a deeper level in terms of, they accuse each other of things that they don't like about each other, and insights they have about each other's denial. And that's a kind of intimacy that comes with experience. Into me you see, and maybe there's things that you don't want people to point out to you, and you think somebody's stepping out of their appropriate boundaries to be telling you how you could be a better person. It's very audacious, but it also is you have a lot of adrenaline when somebody presumes to cross that line and give you their opinion of you. So anyway, the house provides that environment. It's sort of a bubble that they get through that time in, and I think that's why it's called Nights in Rodanthe, because within that bubble and that time and that place, they became more self-aware as people for the rest of their lives because of each other.